Friends, Ronnie belonged to a family of fishermen, but after her father went missing, the entire responsibility of the house fell on 13-year-old Ronnie. One day, her father had gone fishing, but never returned. The villagers searched for him extensively, but he was nowhere to be found. Ronnie also found it strange that her father had left everything behind so suddenly. She felt anger towards him at times, but she had to take care of her family. Her mother was often sick, so Ronnie had to handle everything. Their family had been fishing for generations. Ronnie used to accompany her father to the riverbank many times. Her father would tell her countless stories about the fish in the rivers. He always used to say, "What we think about, what we remember, the river reflects something similar." Ronnie never fully understood this. She just enjoyed listening to those stories and tales. Now, as she began going fishing alone, the other fishermen in the village stopped her from fishing in the big river for her own benefit. Ronnie had to find another river to support her home. The village was divided into two parts, one side where all the houses were and the big river flowed, and the other side was dense forest. The forest was so thick that no one ventured there. However, it was said in the village that there was a river flowing through the middle of the jungle. Ronnie decided to go there. One day, she set out for the jungle with all her belongings. Although she had lived there since childhood, she had never seen the inside of the forest. Even in daylight, the forest was shrouded in darkness. Bats screeched somewhere, and snakes slithered around. All of this frightened Ronnie in the forest, but still she mustered up the courage and walked deeper into the jungle. Suddenly, she spotted a river not far away. She went near the river and started drinking water. As she looked into the water while drinking, instead of seeing her reflection, she saw her father's shadow. Ronnie immediately turned back and screamed, "Baba!" But when she looked again, there was nothing. Ronnie thought it might be her imagination. Ignoring it, she started setting up her fishing net. As soon as she tried to throw the net into the river, she lost her balance and fell into the water. Ronnie didn't know how to swim, so she began struggling to save herself. As she managed to get out of the river, she suddenly felt as if something had grabbed her leg from inside the water and was pulling her back into the river. Ronnie panicked and started kicking her legs hard. Her leg eventually came free, but when she looked back, there was no one there. She began to feel increasingly uneasy. It was as if she could sense someone or something human nearby. Before she could make any sense of it, she noticed something coming toward her in the river. A red cloth was floating directly toward her. As soon as the red cloth reached the shore, the ground beneath Ronnie's feet gave way. The red cloth looked exactly like the scarf her father used to wear around his neck. Ronnie couldn't understand anything. How did her father's scarf end up in that river? She convinced herself that the red cloth could belong to anyone. Standing up again, she resumed setting up her fishing net. Ronnie went back to her belongings to fetch some bait for the fish. When she opened her bag, she found a photograph of her father inside. What startled her most was that she hadn't brought the photo herself. Moreover, someone had scratched out her father's eyes in the picture. Ronnie decided to leave everything and escape from there. She was certain now that something was wrong with this place. She went back to the river to retrieve her net, but as soon as she touched the net, she felt some strange movement inside it. Ronnie thought maybe fish had gotten caught in the net, so she pulled it out forcefully. But what emerged from the net was something Ronnie had never imagined, not even in her wildest dreams. Inside the net was her father's corpse. Ronnie's eyes widened in shock. She screamed loudly and began to cry. At that moment, she felt someone passing behind her. Ronnie began to feel as if some evil force was hovering around her, but she couldn't leave her father's body behind. She started dragging his corpse out of the water. When the body was finally out, Ronnie's heart stopped. Half of her father's torso was missing. It looked as if some wild animal had eaten half of his body. Before she could recover from the shock, a terrifying woman emerged from the river right in front of her. Her hair was covered in moss, and her teeth were large and sharp. Her entire body seemed decayed, and blood was smeared across her face. She smiled at Ronnie, and right before Ronnie's eyes, the color of the river began to change from blue to red. Ronnie screamed and ran away without looking back. After that day, Ronnie never returned to that jungle again. No one believed her story, but she was certain that perhaps her father had also gone fishing there one day and encountered that horrific sea witch. It took Ronnie a long time to recover from the trauma. Ronnie now sells vegetables from a cart to support her family. But to this day, she still has nightmares about that horrifying incident. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.